My name is Amanda Turner, and at 35, I've learned that family can be both your greatest strength and your deepest wound. As I helped my 10-year-old son, Marcus, navigate his wheelchair up the pristine driveway of my brother's new house, I couldn't shake the feeling that today would be different, not because of the elegant housewarming party my sister-in-law, Victoria, had planned, but because of the envelope sitting in my office desk drawer, the one containing the final mortgage approval I'd signed off on last month. "Mom, do you think Aunt Victoria got those chocolate cookies I like?" Marcus asked, his bright eyes shining with excitement. My heart squeezed. Despite everything, he still saw the best in people. "We'll see, sweetheart," I replied, adjusting his jacket. The spring breeze carried the sound of laughter and clinking glasses from the backyard. Victoria had been planning this housewarming for weeks, sending multiple texts about the imported marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and the guest list of important people she'd invited. What she didn't know, what none of them knew, was that their dream home's mortgage had crossed my desk at Brighton Financial. As the senior loan officer, I'd seen the application flagged for concerns. Their debt-to-income ratio was questionable, but I'd chosen to approve it anyway. Family helps family, right? The front door opened before we could ring the bell, and there stood my brother, David, champagne glass in hand. "Sis, you made it?" His smile faltered slightly as his eyes dropped to Marcus's wheelchair. Victoria's got the place pretty packed. I recognized that tone, the one he'd adopted since marrying Victoria 3 years ago. The apologetic, but not really voice that preceded every exclusion, every forgotten invitation, every time Marcus was made to feel less than. "We'll manage," I said firmly, pushing Marcus's chair forward. The inside of the house was exactly as Victoria had bragged about, all white marble, crystal, and chrome. Groups of well-dressed guests mingled, their shoes clicking on the pristine floors. Marcus's wheels made a soft whirring sound as we moved through the foyer. "Amanda," Victoria's voice cut through the crowd. She approached us, perfect in her designer dress, but her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Oh, you brought Marcus." "Of course," I replied. "He's been looking forward to seeing his cousins." Victoria's face tightened. "The children are upstairs. We've set up a playroom to keep them away from the valuable items." Her gaze dropped meaningfully to Marcus's wheelchair. Before I could respond, Marcus spoke up. "The floors are really pretty, Aunt Victoria. Don't worry, Mom got new rubber wheels for my chair last week. They won't leave any marks." There was a moment of silence, broken by the sharp sound of Victoria's intake of breath. "Actually," she said, her voice dropping to a harsh whisper, "I don't think this is going to work. Do you see these floors? They're imported Italian marble. One scratch, and they're ruined. I can't have that wheelchair rolling all over them." "Victoria," I started, feeling the heat rise in my cheeks. "You can't be serious." "I am absolutely serious." She glanced around, noticing a few guests watching. "This is our housewarming, Amanda. We have important people here, David's boss, potential clients. I can't have. Well, this isn't the right environment for Marcus's condition." I felt Marcus's hand slip into mine, squeezing tight. The familiar gesture, him trying to comfort me when it should be the other way around, made my throat tight with anger. "David," Victoria called out. My brother approached, that same uncomfortable look on his face. "Tell them." David cleared his throat, not quite meeting my eyes. "Sis, maybe it's best if you come back another time. When it's just family." "Just family?" I repeated, my voice quiet but sharp. "And what exactly do you think Marcus is?" Victoria stepped closer, her voice dropping even lower. "Don't make a scene, just get out. Take your broken kid and go." The silence that followed her words felt like a physical thing. I could feel Marcus trembling beside me, could see the tears he was trying so hard to hold back. In that moment, something inside me hardened into steel. "All right," I said, my voice steady. "We'll go. But remember this moment, Victoria. Remember exactly what you said and did here today." As I turned Marcus's wheelchair around, I heard Victoria's dismissive scoff. "What's that supposed to mean?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Tomorrow's board meeting would do all the talking for me. As we left the house, I couldn't help but smile slightly at the thought of Victoria's face when she learned who had actually approved their precious mortgage, and who could just as easily revoke it. "I'm sorry, Mom," Marcus whispered as we reached the car. I knelt beside his wheelchair, taking his face in my hands. Never apologize for who you are, sweetheart. You're perfect exactly as you are. And tomorrow, some people are going to learn a very important lesson about family. As I helped him into the car, my phone buzzed with a text from Victoria. I hope you understand why this was necessary. Some people just don't fit into certain situations. I didn't reply. Instead, I thought about the stack of papers on my desk at Brighton Financial, the ones showing multiple issues with their mortgage application, the ones I'd overlooked out of family loyalty. Tomorrow's meeting would certainly be interesting. Marcus's voice broke through my thoughts. Can we get ice cream? I smiled, starting the car. You know what? Ice cream sounds perfect. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about rising above while watching others sink under the weight of their own cruelty. The next morning, I sat in my office at Brighton Financial, reviewing the documentation spread across my desk. Victoria and David's mortgage application told quite a story, one of overextended credit, hidden debt, and questionable income claims. I'd overlooked these red flags out of family loyalty, something that now felt foolish given yesterday's events. My assistant knocked on the door. The board members are ready in the main conference room. I gathered the files, pausing to look at the photo on my desk. Marcus at his science fair last year, beaming with pride next to his project on wheelchair accessibility in public spaces. The memory of his tears from yesterday strengthened my resolve. Mrs. Turner, Mr. Blake, the bank's CEO, greeted me as I entered. You called this emergency review regarding the Morrison property loan? Yes, I replied, distributing copies of my report. Upon secondary review, I've discovered several concerning irregularities that require immediate attention. As I detailed the issues, the undisclosed credit card debt, the inflated income statements, the questionable collateral, I saw the board members' expressions grow increasingly grave. I hadn't fabricated anything, I had simply stopped protecting them from their own financial irresponsibility. My phone buzzed halfway through the meeting. A text from Victoria. The marble floors are scratched. I knew this would happen. Your son must have damaged them yesterday. I silenced my phone, continuing my presentation. We hadn't even made it past the foyer yesterday, but Victoria's quick assumption spoke volumes about her character. Given these findings, I concluded, I recommend an immediate review and potential recall of the loan. Mr. Blake leaned forward. This is quite serious, Mrs. Turner. Why weren't these issues flagged during the initial approval? They were, I admitted. I made a personal judgment call because the applicants are my brother and sister-in-law. I now realize that was a mistake. Just then, my phone buzzed again, this time with a call from David. I declined it, but the voicemail notification followed immediately. Sis, Victoria's freaking out about the floors. She's talking about sending us the repair bill. Come on, you know how Marcus's wheelchair can be. Just be reasonable about this. The board quickly reached their decision. By noon, the recall notice was drafted. Victoria and David would have 30 days to either refinance or pay the full amount, neither of which they could afford given their financial situation. As I left the meeting, my phone rang again. This time it was my mother. Amanda, she started, her voice tight with tension. Victoria's crying at my house. She says you're trying to get them evicted. Sweetheart, I know she can be difficult, but they just moved in. Mom, I interrupted. Did she tell you what happened at the housewarming? How she kicked out your grandson because his wheelchair might scratch her precious floors? The silence on the other end was telling. No, Mom finally said, her voice smaller. She didn't mention that part. She called him my broken kid, Mom. Made him cry. And David just stood there and let it happen. I heard my mother's sharp intake of breath. Oh, Amanda. Actions have consequences, I said firmly. I've spent years making excuses for them, smoothing things over, trying to keep the peace. Not anymore. When I picked up Marcus from school that afternoon, he was quieter than usual. Mom, he asked as we drove home, is it true what Lily said? That Aunt Victoria and Uncle David might have to leave their new house. Lily was Victoria's daughter, my niece. Of course, they would use a child to try to make us feel guilty. The truth is, I explained carefully, Aunt Victoria and Uncle David weren't honest about some important things when they bought the house. That's not okay, and now they have to deal with the consequences. Like when you say actions have consequences. Exactly like that, sweetheart. My phone kept buzzing throughout the evening. Victoria had progressed from angry accusations about the floors to desperate pleading about the mortgage. David left increasingly panicked voicemails about their misunderstanding and how we needed to work this out as a family. Around dinner time, the doorbell rang. Through the window, I could see Victoria on our porch, looking significantly less polished than yesterday. I opened the door but kept the security chain in place. "Please," she said, her mascara smudged. "We'll lose everything. You can't do this to us." "I'm not doing anything to you," I replied calmly. "Your loan application has simply been reviewed according to standard bank procedures. The same procedures I would have followed initially if I hadn't been trying to help family." "But we are family," she protested. "Are we?" I asked quietly, "because yesterday you made it very clear that my son, your nephew, wasn't family enough to be welcome in your home." She flinched. I was just worried about the floors." "Goodbye, Victoria," I said, closing the door on her stammered excuses. Later that night, as I tucked Marcus into bed, he asked, "Are you mad at Aunt Victoria and Uncle David?" I sat on the edge of his bed, choosing my words carefully. "I'm disappointed in them. Sometimes people show you who they really are, and when they do, it's important to believe them." He nodded thoughtfully. "Like when you tell me that real family loves you no matter what." "Exactly like that." I kissed his forehead. "And you, my brave boy, are perfect exactly as you are. Never let anyone make you feel otherwise." As I turned out his light, my phone lit up with another text from Victoria. "You'll regret this. No one likes someone who turns against family." I smiled slightly, thinking of the board meeting scheduled for tomorrow morning. Victoria had no idea that this was just the beginning. Sometimes the best lessons about family come from those who show you exactly what family shouldn't be. 1 week after the board meeting, Victoria and David's perfect world was crumbling. Their attempts to refinance had been rejected by 3 different banks, each one flagging the issues I'd originally overlooked. The expensive furniture they'd bought to impress their guests was being repossessed, and David's boss, who attended the housewarming, was asking uncomfortable questions about the financial discrepancies. I sat in my office, reviewing their latest desperate appeal when my mother called. "I went to see them yesterday," she said, her voice heavy. "The house is half empty." Victoria was talking about moving in with her parents. And I kept my voice neutral. "And I told her she's lucky I don't press charges for how she treated my grandson." Mom's tone hardened. I saw the security camera footage from their doorbell, Amanda. I heard exactly what she said about Marcus. I leaned back in my chair, surprised. "You watched the footage?" "David sent it, trying to prove you were exaggerating. Backfired spectacularly." She paused. "I've been too lenient with him, haven't I?" Before I could respond, my assistant buzzed. "Mrs. Turner, your brother and his wife are here. They don't have an appointment, but—" "Send them in," I said. It was time to end this. Victoria entered first, her designer clothes from the housewarming replaced by simple jeans and a sweater. David followed, looking older than I'd ever seen him. "Mandy," he started, using my childhood nickname. "We need to talk." "About what?" I kept my voice professional. "The loan recall is a board decision. There's nothing to discuss." "Please," Victoria's voice cracked. "We'll lose everything. The house, David's job. His boss is asking questions about our finances. Can't you just fix it?" I studied them both. "Like you tried to fix the problem of Marcus attending your party." Victoria flinched. "I'm sorry, okay. I was wrong. I was stressed about the party, about impressing everyone. I shouldn't have said those things about Marcus." "No," I agreed. "You shouldn't have. But you did. And worse, you meant them." "What do you want from us?" David demanded. "We're apologizing." "You're apologizing because you need something," I corrected. "There's a difference." I pulled out my phone, playing the doorbell camera footage. Victoria's voice filled the office. "Take your broken kid and go." David looked away. Victoria started crying. That moment, I said quietly, "When you chose your marble floors over my son's dignity, that was real. This," I gestured to their tearful faces, "is just desperation. What can we do?" Victoria whispered, "Please just tell us what you want." I leaned forward. "I want you to understand something. Marcus isn't broken. He isn't a problem to be managed or an embarrassment to be hidden. He's a brilliant, kind, amazing child who deserves better than an aunt and uncle who see his wheelchair before they see him." I stood up, gathering my files. The loan recall stands. You have 3 weeks left to either pay in full or vacate. What happens next is up to you. That's it? David's voice cracked. You're really going to do this to your own brother? No, David. You did this. Your choices, your lies on the loan application, your silence when your wife attacked your nephew. These are the consequences. After they left, I called Marcus's school to check on him. The secretary put him on the phone. Mom, we're doing a science project about accessibility in buildings. Can I interview you about bank design? His excitement warmed my heart. Of course, sweetheart. Maybe we can even visit some buildings this weekend to research. That evening, as we worked on his project at the kitchen table, the doorbell rang. It was my mother, holding a familiar photo album. Found these while cleaning, she said, sitting down with us. Look, Marcus, this is your mom when she was your age. We spent the evening looking through old photos, sharing stories, laughing. When Marcus went to bed, Mom stayed behind. Victoria called me again, she said. They're moving in with her parents next week. The house is being surrendered to the bank. I nodded, unsurprised. You know what Marcus said to me today? Mom continued. He said he's glad he has a mom who sees him, not his wheelchair. That boy has more wisdom than all of us. The next morning, I received a formal email from Victoria and David's lawyer agreeing to a voluntary surrender of the property. No more accusations, no more guilt trips, just acceptance of their situation. At work, Mr. Blake called me into his office. The Morrison property situation, you handled it exactly right. Maintaining professional integrity, even with family involved, is exactly what we need in our new Chief Risk Officer position. Life moved forward, and Victoria and David eventually found a smaller house they could afford. They sent Christmas cards but didn't invite us over. That was fine, we were done pretending. Marcus continued to excel at school, and his science project on accessibility won first place. As he received his award, sitting proudly in his wheelchair on the stage, I thought about Victoria's marble floors and smiled. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about standing firm in your truth and letting others face the consequences of their own actions. Marcus taught me that just by being exactly who he is, perfect, wheelchair and all,